Morning, everybody. Welcome to this Friday's webinar from Anicca Digital. It's myself and Stanley and my partner in crime, Katie.
I just had Sherlock Holmes in mind then, I don't know why. Dr. Watson. Hi, everyone.
As you can see, I'm actually not at home today. I'm down at Brighton SEO. So I've been presenting the advanced PPC training, and then I've been at the conference. So I'm going to go back to the conference in a little while. So for everybody that's familiar with the way that we run this, what's going to happen next is we're just going to run run one poll actually, so that we can understand a little bit more about the audience. And the main focus of today's presentation is all about use of data and integration of data across different platforms. I'm not going to be covering any of the AI to do with all those amazing images, the panda in a leather jacket on top of a motorbike type stuff, or the copywriting. This is purely data integration. I'm not going to explain anything technical. I'm just going to explain the principles and also introduce a new service that we're offering called Digital Science, which I'll explain in a little bit more detail. So to get us going, I'm going to quickly run the poll. And what that will mean is that the poll will allow us to sort of get an understanding of what you're doing. So what type of business are you and how do you use data? So you can tick more than one, because I'm sure that some of these will apply to several of them might apply to you. So I work in lead generation. That's basically when you get a lead form or a phone call on your website. And we want to track how our leads convert to sales, e.g. using a CRM system, a customer relationship management system. So something like HubSpot or Salesforce. So this is really understanding what leads turn into actual sales. The next one is I work in an e-commerce business and I want to understand lifetime value of my customers. I work in an e-commerce business and I want to vary my marketing based on stock levels or retail sales. So this is based on, you feeding back through the system. It might not even be at the back of your website. It might be a completely separate system that you need to integrate your data with. I have a business which needs to retain customers, for example, insurance or utilities. So something like coming to the contract at the end of the year, and I want to use some specific marketing to understand which contracts are ending. So you can create some customer audiences to do something like that. I have a big site or a massive site, and I want to automate creating campaigns or audiences across my different paid media channels. I'm currently using Universal Analytics and need help migrating to GA4. I need some help understanding how data integration across platforms can help me. And I'm here to learn, but have no idea of our data needs. So you might be in that camp. So I just wanted to put a one that if you don't know any of the above, you could possibly tick that one. So what's the results looking like then?
Well, 35% are saying I need some help understanding how data integration across platforms can benefit me. Next, 19% are saying I work in an e-commerce business and want to understand lifetime value. 18% are saying I work in a lead generation business and want to track how our leads convert to sales via CRM. And 8% say I have a big site and want to automate creating campaigns or audiences. And then the rest of everybody else are kind of spread out a little bit.
Okay, brilliant.
Well, we are today.
Yeah, it's quite a mix. That's good. Apologies for that. I just realised that my power was about to go out, so I thought I better fix that now. Otherwise, it's going to be very embarrassing in the middle of the talk if I end up with no power. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go and grab my slides. I'm sharing my screen today, so what that means is I won't be able to see what's happening. So Katie will be in the background, and she will be able to answer any questions.
Just to say also, everyone can catch up on demand, can't they, Anne? I'm here for questions and.
Yeah, so we will be sending the video out later on. So I'm just going to open the slides. I want to make sure you guys can see it okay. Is that okay, Katie? Is it full screen?
Yeah, it looks fine.
Excellent. If you think that you need it in a bigger screen, in the top right hand corner there's a little arrow in the panel, and you can make that full screen, and it hides your browser. So this is our new digital science offering, and the reason for the logo I'll explain in a second, but basically what I'm going to do is talk about our data integration services, and I'll explain this little diagram in a little while. So first of all, for those who don't know me, I've had quite a long career already, over 40 years, and actually half of it was spent in science. And I'm also just enrolled to do a data science level 4 qualification to increase my understanding of SQL and Python and things like that. Because when I was at Leicester University, I actually did a PhD, and I'm really keen, as I get sort of closer to my retirement, that I'm going to do another PhD on data science and how it impacts marketing, because that's effectively my career has been divided into two halves, science and marketing. And you can see here, Anicca has been going for 15 years now. So for those who are new to Anicca, there's 27 of us. We've got around 45 clients. We were established in 2007. And we're the sort of agency that tells you what you need to know, not what you want to hear. And there's some of the team at the back of the office. And this is actually our lovely office, which is an old converted pub. This is actually the river here. And that's in the centre of Leicester. We don't get there often enough, although we are definitely going there more often than we used to. We'll hold some more events, I think, there in the next few months. We are quite well known in the industry. We're a Google Premier partner. We're a Meta, Facebook and Instagram partner. We're also a Bing partner. We're also an accredited training organisation through the Digital Marketing Institute. And we run Leicester Digital Live. We've been running a series of workshops for some of the LEPs around the country, including D2N, which is Derbyshire, which is the East Midlands, and also Suffolk and Norfolk, to provide free or subsidised training on digital marketing, ending up with this qualification. So I think we've so far this year put over 250 people have started the course, and many of those have already got their exams. And these are some of the people that we're working with. We're actually working with some quite big brands. We also work with a lot of other smaller companies as well. And our main areas of sort of focus are very much the areas that I've worked in the past, but we also do quite a lot of local stuff as well, with local universities, local tourists, sort of destination marketing they're called, but a range of quite non-sexy industries really. And in addition to that, we do quite a lot of e-commerce, often from the manufacturers that we work with. So who's digital science then? So digital science is a hybrid, a merger of minds of a South African agency called Conversion Science and Anicca obviously in the UK. And we've combined those two brands to form the digital science logo, because it's a bit of a mix of our two names. And you can see we've got this nice logo down here. And the good thing about the two businesses is that, in addition to the qualifications and accreditations I've already mentioned, the guys down in South Africa are also Google Marketing Platform certified, which is sort of the next level up, which is where we're hoping to get ourselves. And that gives that includes accreditations around analytics, BigQuery, Data Studio, Google Tag Manager, etc. So the digital marketing services that we offer, if you think about it from a point of view of having your own website and your own CRM system, and over on the left-hand side, I should have checked the slide building. It's not quite good. The arrows should have been at the end, so apologies for that. You've got your target audiences and other influencers. You've got the market dynamics and your competitors. And we do a lot of audits and analysis of this using some paid, quite expensive paid tools. And then what you've got is you've got the search platforms and the social platforms. And most of the digital marketing that we do includes both organic and paid. So, of course, you've got SEO and PPC, you've got organic social and paid social. So most of the work that we do is actually search and social marketing. But, of course, if you do that, you also get quite a lot of direct traffic to your site. And the nice thing about the new GA4 is that at the moment, the universal Google Analytics direct is just a dumping ground for something that Google hasn't been able to classify. And you'll see that when you get the new GA4 reports, it actually breaks all the sources of traffic down into something like 18 different channels rather than about 6 at the moment. So we're going to get a lot more detail going forwards when we all flip over to GA4. Now, the other side of my little diagram, we've got the technical side of what we do. So you often see on our website a little acronym called POET. And POET stands for paid media, owned media, which is the stuff you can control yourself, earned media, which is things like PR, reviews, the social media that people say about you, and then tech, that's where the POET comes from. And the main reason we've included the tech is because you can't run a website and its marketing without all the third-party tools for tracking, analytics and visualization, such as Data Studio. And also there's a lot of new media like voice search and hybrid programmatic TV and things like Spotify and streaming ads, etc. Because, of course, Netflix is bringing in ads very soon. And those techie medias or those techie channels are crucial if you want to do the rest. Now, the other thing is if you can measure it, you can manage it. And so therefore, if we can do all of this stuff, we can utilize conversion optimization techniques to improve what's going on. Now, if you look at that from a point of view of the services that we offer, and this is both our colleagues in South Africa just focus on paid, but of course we do the owned and earned as well. You've got the competitor market and audience insights. You've got the paid organic channels setup and management, and then you've got the tracking, analytics and data visualization. Now, that's all very well, and nearly every single digital agency will offer something like this, or they're specializing in one element of it. But what we're doing is we're going to be looking at the data flows between all of those different channels and all the tools that you use. So it's basically the service is going to be an AI-based data integration, optimization and automation solutions. So if we just look at this again, I'll just build it quickly. What's happening this time is we're also bringing in offline data, including sales and retail data. So this could be if you've got any shops, or you've got a trade desk in a business park, or you've got an EPOS system, or you've got you track your phone calls. Doesn't matter what it is, but this will support your CRM system or your marketing automation system. CRM is customer relationship management or database. Your e-commerce or your retail data, and we will look at all the flows of data between these different systems, and where we can bring them in and out of each other. So that's really, instead of just doing things in isolation and only knowing what happens when they get to your website, what we can start to do is integrate our channels and our marketing across the whole of the user journey and actually track what they do at all the different stages, which is crucial if you really want to understand what type of marketing is most effective to get the end result, and also to utilize the data on actually, for example, what leads generate good quality opportunities to actually make better marketing decisions. So the people that would benefit from this type of service are the websites or the businesses that have got a lot of data. And what I mean by that is they're not really going to be able to do it manually. So something like an enterprise, a very big e-commerce website. So if you've got an e-commerce website with 500,000 or £1 million a month, you probably come into this category. If you're a lot smaller than 100,000, for example, then some of this stuff you can almost manage manually and you might not get the benefits. The other one that I think is really important, and we have got some case studies already on this. In fact, one of the case studies is in the audience today, and that's Domino Printing. And what we did with them, without giving any of the technical side away, is we actually followed leads all the way through to sales, and we were able to bring that data together in Data Studio reports so they could see what type of channel and what type of content ended up generating the high value sales, even though that sale could have been 9 months or a year later from the original lead. So this is really useful for lead generation, where you've got a sales team that have to convert that lead into a sale later on. We also did something similar with a case study called Switch My Business. And this was trying to convert a lead generation site and make it into a sort of proxy e-commerce site. Now, this business isn't with us anymore. Unfortunately, they overstretched themselves. And before COVID, they actually went out of the business, which was a little while after we stopped working with them. So it wasn't anything that we'd done. And this was a case study that actually won us 3 Drum Awards. And the reason was because they had a Salesforce CRM system, but it was so hacked, you couldn't use the normal connectors that you get with things like Google Ads to Salesforce. That didn't work. So just in case you aren't aware, quite a lot of the platforms do have some integration already built in, but they don't always work if the company has played around with it a lot. So what we were able to do is people were coming in, then the sales team were calling them, and then once we knew that they were going to buy a new energy contract, the data and the number of units of gas and electricity would have been logged in the CRM system. Then what happened was every day there was an export out of the Salesforce data into a spreadsheet. This was a drive sheet which we could upload, which we could use. And then we use that data to feed back into Google Ads. Now, if you do any e-commerce, you know that we can also do something similar with the revenue from an e-commerce website and feed that back into Google Ads. And then that can be used to do something called revenue bidding or ROAS bidding, which means revenue divided by ad spend or the cost. So what we were able to do by inserting or injecting the revenue data back, we could convert a lead generation campaign into a pseudo e-commerce campaign where we would bid more for the high value key phrases and ads, because we now knew which ones converted at the next stage and gave us the higher value contracts. So and that won us the award. Now, the other one that this works really well with is utility and finance. So this is something like a phone contract or insurance, where at the end of the year, you could get a large defection of people. So you're going to be busily emailing them and phoning them to remind them to renew their contracts. Now, what you can do using something called custom audiences, and this is across most of the ad platforms, so definitely Google, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and quite a lot of the others, is you can create a custom audience by uploading your CRM data, so the name, the address, the email, etc. Now, you won't get 100% match, and each of the platforms requires a minimum number to actually upload. But if you imagine that you've got a load of people whose contract's going to be renewing at the 1st of November, at the beginning of October, you could download that list, upload that, say, in Facebook, which is the cheapest way of getting in front of these people. And then from there, what you would do is you would do some Facebook ad remarketing based on that customer audience and tell them how wonderful you are and that there's a great offer if they renew. Another type of business that really benefits from this sort of data integration is where you've got very, very large database-driven websites which aren't e-commerce. So this is things like automotive, property, recruitment, tourism, etc. So automotive is a great example of this. And because if you think about it, if you've got a dealership or you've got a car showroom where you're selling large, I'm thinking of somebody like Motorpoint up in Derby. I mean, there's lots of them around the country, and they've got huge numbers of cars that are coming from a database, and you want to make sure that that information is up to date, but also you need to be creating really big campaigns for every single combination of car model and manufacturer. So that's going to be another one. Potentially, you could have campaigns with thousands and thousands and thousands of keywords. Of course, you can use some of the automated types of Google ads like dynamic search ads, which we call DSAs, or the new Performance Max ads, which again can come from a feed. But if you still want to create standard text ads, then you're going to need some help in building these massive campaigns. But more importantly, whatever type of campaign, you're going to be getting information about the sorts of key phrases that people are searching on and being found for. And therefore, you want to make decisions about how to optimize the campaigns and make improvements. The final type of website or business that can benefit is a membership-based site where people have to log in. So this could be a trade site, a university site, something where there's a login, and as soon as they log in, they get access to loads of information. That information could be e-commerce or it could be educational. And once they're in there, we can potentially personalize what they actually see based on the information that we hold on that particular member. Now, with regard to all the things that I've told you so far, I just wanted to bring this diagram up again, which is sort of the introduction, and just explain why I've used this little satellite type model. So if we just go around the outside, most of our focus is on search and social as our two traffic sources. And also what we're doing is we're bringing in a combination of the art or creativity and the science of the data. So it's all very well having great data, but if you've got rubbish ads and you haven't, created a great brand experience, you're not going to resonate with your target audience. And I've also introduced this term called brand performance. Now, most of you are aware of what we call performance marketing, which is all about getting leads and sales. But actually, a lot of the work that we do is a two-step process where we get brand awareness of and educate our potential audience, say with a video ad, and then we follow it up with a secondary step using something like a conversion ad or maybe a Google ad. So brand performance means that you can use data to do brand marketing as well as using data to do performance marketing. And then if you link them together in a sequential campaign, you can get the best of both worlds. So our first module is the data integrator. So I'm going to show you this. This is actually a video. So let's just run the little animation. Oops, it was running yesterday. Oh, it went really quickly. Let me just try that again. Hold on, go back. For some reason this isn't. Okay, let's start that again. So with the data integrator, this is sort of the core module of all the things that we need to do. And it's basically a two-way integration with your website over here, your CRM system here, your retail data here, and then your ads platforms, your analytics, and your social media. So what we need to do is we need to inject data in and out between these different systems. Now that does involve, in many cases, some form of work with your developer to get data out of your website or your CRM system. Now, sometimes it's really easy. It can be just a CSV export or a script that can run, or it can be an API that's provided by, say, Salesforce or HubSpot, etc. But once we've got the data out, it then goes into a BigQuery database, which is on an Amazon server that's located in your geographical region. It's not located in South Africa. And if you are an international company and you want it in Europe rather than UK or USA, the server will be located where you require because it's an Amazon server. So this is the first key step of getting the data out and injected back in to the various different platforms. So now what I'm going to do is just sort of explain that in another diagram. I'm struggling a little bit with, oh, that's right. So first of all, let's say we've got our CRM and our website. So what we're going to do is, for example, what we can do is we can track our offline leads and sales. So we've got our website lead, and then we follow that into our CRM system or our EPOS system, and then we know whether we've got a sale, and we can inject that back in. And so what we need to do is we need to get the CRM data exported to the server so it can be used elsewhere. So basically how that works is the website and CRM data is exported to a cloud server with a BigQuery database. And we can also use retail and till data, and that can be imported into integrated as well. And then we process the data in batches, and it can be sent up into the ad platform, or it can be sent into analytics using something like the measurement protocol API. And we can use that conversion data or create audiences. So this is basically the core step that moves the data around. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the modules of how we use that data to do specific tasks or solve specific problems. Now, I'm not going to go through all of the slides that I've got explaining this in the text, because I'm just going to sort of explain the basic principles now. So the next one is how we can use the data integrator to use it in various different solutions. So I'll just let it bring up all the different colors. So the first one is exporting what we call first-party data of leads and conversions. So this would be taking, for example, if you've got a lead generation site, but you get, like us, we get 20 leads a day, but actually over a month, only 10 to 20 of them will be any good, because every single day we get spammed with a load of rubbish. And so if Google is generating those leads for us, and we decided to use a bidding strategy of, say, conversion, focusing on conversions or a CPA, it'd be making decisions based on all those crappy leads rather than the good quality leads. So instead, so what you can do is you can export the data back into something like Google with just the clean data, and then the system can make decisions. The other reason why, so that's number one up there. The second thing that if anybody's been doing any Google ads is that Google Ads wants you to import first-party data using a functionality called enhanced conversion tracking. The reason this is important is because as we go into a cookieless world, they need more signals to understand who your conversions are. So what happens there is it takes the data from your form or your e-commerce cart, it's encrypted, and then that's injected back into Google so that it can make more informed decisions. And Facebook's going to go in that direction as well. My second one, the purple one, is using the exports of stock levels or retail data, and then using that, for example, to optimize category pages based on stock levels. I will explain this in a little bit more detail in a second. But this means that if you're doing an e-commerce website, most of your advertising will be shopping ads. Those are the images at the top, and they're fed from a feed where the stock levels are updated, usually every day if it's just a dynamic feed, or it could be much more often than that if it's based on an API. Now, the problem with that is that most e-commerce websites will also have text ads as well, and the text ads tend to go to the category pages. Now, that isn't fed from a feed, and so you could be advertising, for example, Nike ladies trainers, go into the Nike ladies trainer page, but be out of stock of the key bestsellers. And so having some way of monitoring and actually changing your ads based on stock levels can be really important if you're spending a lot of money. And what they can do is they can either turn budgets on or off, or lower them or increase them, or they can mess around with the bids as well. So there's various different ways of exploiting that data to maximize the effectiveness of your campaign. Now, the other one that I mentioned earlier on, with a particularly relevance of retention, but it can be used for lots of other purposes, is exporting of audience and user data from your CRM system and importing that into the ad platforms to create custom audiences. And that can be used for various different purposes, such as prospecting, lookalikes, and retention. But I'll just go into a little bit more detail. So one of the big advantages of custom audiences is that you can create an audience based on the people that you know are already a customer, so your converters. Now, you can do that using the website remarketing, where you know that they've been to the thank you page after buying or filling in a form, and because you've tracked them with a pixel and you know who they are. But actually, a lot of your sales might come from another source. It could be over a telephone, or you've got some form of retail, or you've got a membership list or something like that. And those audiences won't be in the system. They're not related directly to the website, or they could be sales that happen a couple of months later. So if we can create a custom audience of the people that are already customers, we can use that, and we can either use that to sell them a new product if you're launching something new. We can use it when the contract's about to end and they could defect to competitors. So that's a retention strategy. But also what you can do is you can create lookalikes of people that are similar to your target audience, and then you can go after them and you can use those for prospecting. You can also decide to add your converters or your customers in as a negative audience, because if you're spending a lot of money at marketing, you might not want them to actually see the ad again, because particularly if you're doing remarketing, they've been to your website, you don't want to keep showing the same ad if they're already a customer. So lots of really interesting things that you can do using these different packages. And then this is a little bit more detail of what I've just explained. So when you get the slides, you'll be able to just see my points that I've just made just a minute ago. Okay, so module 2 is the ad creator and optimizer. So again, hopefully the video is going to work. So we've got the same 3 things again, because remember, we need the data integrator to do all this work. But this time we've got a few more different things going on. Now, the first one, actually, you could do on its own. You could do this one in isolation. And this is designed for the massive sites that want to create text campaigns. And they are based on things like a combination of seed lists. So I'll give you an example of cars. So if you've got 20 to 30 manufacturers of cars, then each of those are times by all the different models. Then you've got the different fuel type, then you've got the age, then you've got colors, etc., etc. You can end up with literally millions and millions of lists of keywords, rather, all spread into little ad groups, all requiring different ads. So what we do is we use a Excel spreadsheet that's scripted, and you create your seeds of the different elements, and then it just basically generates your campaigns for you, which you can then upload up and utilize this. Now, you only want to be doing this if you're spending literally tens of thousands a month, because it's not a cheap product, this one, because it's quite time consuming and it's got a lot of IP associated with it. Because if you are spending a lot of money every month, then and you needed to create these massive campaigns, as you can imagine, you could literally take months to create them all manually. I just would add here, of course, you can sort of use Google's own tools like DSAs and Performance Max to try and produce some of this. But the second half of the tool is even more powerful, and that's that it uses the search term data, which you get in most of the types of campaigns, not really Performance Max. That just gives you groups of information. But you can use that search term data to then optimize and create new ad groups and new ads. And so this is a really powerful way of automating, and it's not available in any of the other bid management tools that you could just go out and buy. Shopping ads then. So we are still able to create manual shopping ads, but all our smart shopping is now moved over to Performance Max, where we have a lot less control, but you do get large volumes, and generally you can get some really good results with a little bit of tweaking and a little bit of learning. So what this is, was two elements of this. First of all, using stock levels to help with those campaign category ads, which I was talking about earlier on. But also, we're in the process, the guys at Conversion Science are at the process of creating a Performance Max creator and optimizer tool. And this is because of the restrictions of Performance Max, in that it does limit you to a maximum of 1,000 product IDs within one asset group or product listing group. So if you've got literally hundreds of thousands of products, you need to have a structure that actually allows you to control them. And also, we're very reliant on ROAS bidding at each of the campaigns or CPA bidding. And so you also need a tool to help optimize and manage that as well. So it's almost automation on top of automation. And in this case, the automation is the bid strategy that you can use, because you've only got two within Performance Max. The final thing that I've added, which was an idea from the Anicca side, was actually to utilize this data, particularly the search term data, to assist with our search campaigns, our SEO campaigns. And our idea here was to utilize your Search Console data to find out the key phrases where you, this is really for long tail key phrases, product details, product ID numbers, so that if there's nobody else bidding on a key phrase, or you're already number one, then you might decide that you don't want to spend any money on Google Ads because you're going to get it organically. So that's something that we're talking about how we could build, because I think that as we move forward, we're going to see more and more integration of SEO and PP strategies or PPC strategies. Module 3 is the text ad creator and optimizer. So this is the one that I was talking about in a little bit more detail just a minute ago. So this is where you get a seed list of keywords and descriptors. So this would be the models of the manufacturers of the cars, the models of the cars, the ads that you want to match. And then basically we create thousands of combinations using scripted spreadsheets. And then these can be uploaded to create really granular campaign and ad groups. And then we use the search term reports to create further ad groups. And then that data can also be used for SEO as well. So that's basically what I've just been explaining to you. And again, that's a little bit more text when you come back and read it later. Module 4 is the Performance Max ad creator and optimizer. And this is evolving. So this won't be exactly the same as what I'm showing now, because this tool is evolving. and it's going to be available in the next couple of months. So I'm just going to bring up another diagram again. So we've got our export of stock levels and retail data. And what we can do is we can use that stock level data to optimize your category ads, or we can optimize the performance max and actually even create the structure that we use. And then we can also use the search term data that we get in text ads, DSA ads, and the standard shopping ads to utilize that data to go for an SEO campaign. And just to make you aware, Performance Max isn't only shopping. You can use it for other product feeds as well. So this could be cars, it could be tourisms, it could be job, hotels, whatever you've got. But also you can use it across a whole load of other platforms, because you also create text and images and videos. And if you haven't got a product feed, it's where I've been saying I think that Google would go. So you get to a point where you can create everything in one campaign. You don't need any key phrases. It uses the content, it uses the URLs, it uses audience signals, because you can do some audiences targeting in there. And basically, I believe that we're getting to a situation soon where Google will really push the AI automated route to a point where we've got very little control. And you can see that again here. So event tracking is used to say when a product goes out of stock. That's basically on the page using the data layer. That information using rules is sent over to Google Ads to change the bids so that the targeting or the either the bid or the budget is changed if the stock levels get too low. And then from there, you can play around with incremental bid adjustments to try and get your balance of volume and profitability. Okay, this is the Performance Max one. So this is using parameters and custom labels to prioritize products in your feed. So unfortunately, we were looking at a prospect this week who'd got 150,000 products in one asset group. You can only see details of the first 1,000, so there's no way of working out which ones are working and which ones aren't. But when I investigated breaking that down using the feed, so for example, the category or the product type or the brand, unfortunately, we still ended up with groups. There wasn't really any classifications where all of them were less than 1,000. So this means this work has to be done offline, either in Merchant Center or back in your website, or using this tool to actually break it into logical groups of 1,000 or less, which we can give a sensible naming structure, which allows you to create campaigns and asset groups of the right size, because you can't have one asset group of only 50 or loads of asset groups of only 50 products and then a few that are over 1,000, because it will use all your, you have 100 campaigns, Performance Max campaigns, and 1,000 asset groups, and you can imagine if you've got a really huge enterprise e-commerce site, you will use up your asset groups very, very quickly, because you've only got 1,000 of them times the 100. So once we've created our 100 campaigns and our 100 granular listing groups, there's one listing group per asset group, so basically the same thing. We can then use incremental bidding again to achieve the balance of volume and profitability. And that bidding is done at the campaign level. So it's really important to use a custom label, maybe around profitability or margin, and group your products that way, because then you know that this particular campaign, you can afford to go for a much higher ROAS bid strategy than another one where you just want masses of volumes because you know you're going to make a profit anyway. And that just explains what I've just said. The final one is the server-side controller. And this, again, is another little video. So this is using website server-side tracking content modification, server-side tracking, I've just noticed a typo, and logged in membership and site optimization. So let me just explain what I mean by that. So at the moment, most of us use Google Tag Manager to add our tracking codes, but that's what we call browser side. So that means that it's the browser that's sort of sending that information. Now, because of the privacy considerations, GA4 has had to replace Universal Analytics because it's been written in really old code. It relies on browser, and there's a load of EU countries that have basically blocked use of it because of it sending IP data, which is identified personal data, over to the States, where the States can just read what they like. Well, not all of them, but the government can, if they wanted to. So server side means that it's on your server rather than being sent to somebody else's server. So it's first party data and you're in control of it. And that's how GA4 works. But most of you won't be aware that there's also a Google Tag Manager that's server side rather than browser side. And if you start putting all your tracking codes on there, what happens is it massively speeds up the site because you're not having to wait for all those tracking codes to load. And also it improves the privacy. So that's going to be really, really important going forward. And if you use that, the speed can be significantly improved. The other thing is that if you have so this is basically what we've got under here. But the other thing you can do is if you've got a membership site or somewhere where somebody has to log in, as soon as they log in, the server knows who that person is and has got a lot of information about their behavior and what they buy and what they're interested in. So the other thing that you can do using server-side controller is you can actually optimize or personalize the content of the page based on that individual. Now, as they start to go around the website and they look at different things, you can also dynamically change the remarketing audiences that you've created to reflect their new behavior. So last week, it's a membership based, something like Matalan this might work for. They were searching for suitcases because they're going on holiday. But this week they're searching for swimming costumes and clothing because, you know, they're nearer to going on holiday and they just want to go and buy their wardrobe. So you can obviously change what remarketing audiences you've got. So again, you've got your members or customers log in and the signals captured. We match the ID to the database in real time, and that allows us to segment the audience according to interests, and then we can personalize the content and also update the remarketing list or populate or refresh the remarketing list. And that's that explained there. So I'm not sure how I'm doing for time. I haven't got access to my clock, so I can't see what the time is. So this is just the last slide. And what I'm basically saying is that if any of you need to understand more about your marketing, we're doing a series of audits and discovery consultations, the majority of which are free. I'll explain which ones are and which ones aren't as I go through. So the competitor market audit is free. This is very similar to what you may have seen in previous presentations around SimilarWeb, where we can benchmark your analytics and your 4 chosen competitors to try and understand what's happening in your sector and give you a strategy of what channels they're using. We can also do an audience analysis. This is using another tool called Meltwater. So if you want to understand your audiences, again, that report is free as well. We also do regularly channel audits for SEO, PP, social with a discovery call. So that's search and social calls. But this one's only available for free if you are looking for an agency. So what we sometimes do with this is, depending on your circumstances, which we will discuss with our team, is if you aren't sure whether you need an agency and you want to do this, if we will charge you, I think it's £1,000. But if you then come on to users, we give you that back, so you get a discount. Website audits, creative, UX, they're free. Analytics and SEO audits, they're free as well. The reason why this is the search and SEO and social audits There's a couple that we can do for free, but it depends what detail you want, and we really need to have a call with you to understand what level of detail. So we tend to work on what we call a freemium model. You know, we give you quite a lot of detail without charging, and then if you want the extra detail, we can then charge later on. But if you then use us as an agency, you get a discount. The data integration, audit and discovery call, unfortunately, there is a charge to that one because that's much more complicated. It also involves our colleagues over in South Africa and our analytics team here. So we will try and understand to start with what you're doing, but then later on what will happen is we will the more detailed audit will be charged for. And again, if you use us, you get that back. So I just realised I've still got the stand number from when we went to TFM. This will be not any use, so I'll edit that later. But you can email me either on my direct email or on the inquiries email or call the office. And that is it. So
we've actually had a question, Anne. I'm sure you can see it now, but it says, what is the name of the audience analysis free tool?
These are the tools that we've built. The audience free tool. Oh, that's Meltwater.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and Ainsley Everly would be interested in having a discussion about looking at his business. So that's a lead. But there's no. Oh, actually, there is something in Q&A. Have a look. What is more effective, using Power BI or spreadsheet to analyze the data?
Okay, so I'm just about to go on this course to learn more about Power BI. I have been on some courses before. Power BI has got some much more powerful statistical analysis. It's got a lot more functions. It's also got more visualization than Excel. If you're already smashing Excel and you're using lookups and slicing and you're using pivot tables, etc., then I would recommend that you get trained in BI. But it's not simple to use. There's quite a lot to it. You've got to use different data sources. I would say Power BI is significantly more complex to use than something like Data Studio, but it has got that spreadsheet statistical analysis side of it as well. The stuff that we're doing, most of this is done in SQL databases, where you've got scripting and other sort of query language to actually manipulate the data. So that's slightly another level again. But if you are in a position now where you've maxed out what you can do in Excel, then definitely do the training. If you are interested in, at the moment, Microsoft is funding a level 3 and a level 4 apprenticeships on data analysis, which means that you get the course for free instead of having to pay the sort of, I think the subsidy is something like 15 grand. One of our team, James, who's here at the show, he's doing that at the moment. But you do need to, spend probably a day a week on the studying and doing the case study, and it has to apply for your job. So there's quite a high level of entry requirements for you to get on that course, but that might be worth you considering. That might be worth it. Thank you. Katie's just put the review stuff out there.
I was just going to say, if you could give us a review, we'd be really grateful, and I'll put the Google one live. Anne has been exceptionally busy, haven't you, Anne? The last couple of weeks, TFM brought in SEO, so she'd really appreciate a review.
Yeah, I mean, actually, Google reviews is in a way more valuable to us.
It is, isn't it?
Because we've got over 200 reviews in reviews.io. We're only around 28. It's a bit of a pain because you have to be logged in. But if you find the webinars generally, even if it's not just us or you're using us and you'd like to leave us a review, that would be amazing. I'm just seeing if there's anything else. I'm not going to be around today, but if anybody's got any questions, myself and Ed, who's head of analytics, and James, who's joined both the analytics and the tech SEO team, we would be very happy to have a call with you. It really works best for the big sites, because this is, if you have to do any of this manually, it's a real ball ache. Whereas if you're a smaller site and you've got smaller site audiences, there's hacks to do some of this stuff. Some of these products are really cheap. And one of the things that I know that Ariel from Conversion Science said was, you could go out and buy Oracle or another platform for tens or hundreds of thousands of pounds that do all this, but it's going to cost you a fortune. And every time you find you want to do something else, you've got to pay more. Whereas most of these are, apart from the initial setup, most of them are in the 500 to 2,500 a month sort of price point. So even if you are handling quite large amounts of data, once the setup is done, you're really only paying for the actual servers and the sort of a contribution to the IP in the first place. So don't be put off by what I'm saying around the price, because we can find out exactly what your circumstances are to get you a price. But I think my main purpose today was to sort of just show you the art of what's possible. And we also, just on another note, Brighton, we also went to some really brilliant presentations on AI yesterday, and some of the other tools that you can do for sorting and things like your key phrases and some of the tricks and things. So once I've got a little bit more information on that, I'll do an update and share some of that knowledge as well. Cool. Any more questions?
Just a few people saying, would like to, speak to you guys. So I've just put our inquiries email address in. So it's inquiries@anicca.co.uk. And Claire Angelina said, I've just discovered QR codes via my SumUp card machine. I'll advertise on postbox toppers. So it's all happening.
If you do send an inquiry in, I need to check Ed's diary, but my diary frees up next week. The following week's half term. So depending on what happens, we'll try and get to talk to you within the next couple of weeks. But hopefully we can go into a little bit more detail. And of course, Ariel, who's not on the call today, will join us and give you some more use cases of how they're using it over in South Africa. Yeah. Thanks very much, guys.
Just to say, if you need to watch this again, obviously the whole webinar will be available on Catch Up as well.
And what's next week, Katie?
I knew you were going to ask that. And my mind's just gone blank.
I think it's Holly, isn't it?
It is Holly, yeah. But I've kind of logged out. Hang on 1 minute.
She's doing stuff on the benefits of testing, I think, if that's right, and running experiments.
Yeah, it's got a really good title. I apologise to Holly if Holly's on here as well. Right, it's campaign testing strategies to balance risk and reward within paid media.
And we're also doing another one for anybody in the construction sector as well, which is on the Thursday. So we're doing a double one next week. We've got a webinar on Thursday and a webinar on Friday. So if you're in the construction sector, you want to see what's happening in the construction industry, we're using some of those tools that we talked about to share that information with you as well. Thanks very much, everybody. Have a great day.
Bye, everyone. Bye. Take care. Bye.